You're listening to Rise of the Independents, the podcast dedicated to agencies, their clients, campaigns, and partners on the rise. ROTI is presented by MiO Marketplace, a sales enabling tool to help agencies and their teams find, keep, and grow their business. And now here's your host, Sean Halter.
You guys are listening to the Rise of the Independent podcast. Welcome to the podcast where we talk all about independent agencies, their clients and partners, about who we see riding to the top and why, presented by MiO Marketplace. We're excited to have as our guest today, Todd, Irwin, Chief Strategy Officer and founder over at Fazer, Ryan Rappaport, founder over Quan Media Group, and Chris Schermer, president over at Schermer. Let's jump straight in with hot or not, what's trending today, good and bad, and why. Let's revisit it, at least if not, for briefly, what's happening, of course, out there, as we were talking before we hit record, about what's going on with Cracker Barrel. Todd, I hate to make you retell me about your thoughts on it, but, they made the switch. It seems like they were in, then they were out, then they were kind of not in and out, and then the president came on and said, maybe they should jump back, and I feel like this might be one of the first times I've actually seen somebody jump back that quickly. What's your perspective on it?
I mean, when's the last time the president of the United States had that much impact on a rebrand? I can't think of it. Who got fired or who got hired? In other words, is it a ploy? Like, is it one of the, did they hire some PR agency and they're like, let's do a rebrand and let's what's behind this? What's underneath this? I'm really interested. I think it's super interesting. By the way, and not to get political or support any party or anything like that, but Mr. Trump is going to go down as a genius when it comes to media master, probably more than anything else. When he's remembered 100 years from now, how he just manipulates brands now. He's manipulating Cracker Barrel. It's crazy.
It is pretty interesting to see, obviously, some of not only that pushback, but then to your point, a switch is going to be remade. Brian, you and I were talking a bit about the fact that if they've got out of home out there, that's not an easy re-switch. So from your perspective, talk about that. Talk about what happens when a brand decides to change things, perhaps mid-campaign, and not all of their boards are digital. What's that process look like? How long does it take?
It's actually a lot quicker than you think these days. You do overnight shipping with regular billboards, and you realistically can get out the door in probably 2 days. But yeah, you look at a brand like Cracker Barrel, who so heavily depends on out-of-home as part of their media mix. And if they've already printed and installed boards that have the new logo or the former new logo, it's going to be a very, very, very long holiday weekend for a certain set of media buyers who are working on the business. It's a lot of lift on the production side of things, and then a lot of lift on kind of managing with media partners out there in the open. So I'm hoping for my brethren that they don't have to deal with that. Chris,
you're sitting in the business-to-business space. It's a little bit different or unusual, but do you see that kind of thing happen? Do you see those same kind of rises and falls when you're talking to clients of what's happening with AI or whatever's happening where they just have to make this quick pivot and you've just got to be there for them?
Not as much, to be honest with you. I think there's a difference between B2B brands and consumer brands is that B2B brands are much more partnering with their customers and clients and co-creating solutions based off of platforms or software or relationships. So you just don't have these quick pivots in B2B typically that you have in the consumer side, and where the echo chamber of social media is leading the conversation, and cancel culture is a big part of it. And our president is the king of cancel culture. So, but he certainly can affect B2B and businesses rise and fall, and just by the words he utters.
I think he's more of a marketer than he is anything else.
Definitely.
I mean, he's just like the master of propaganda. It's just unbelievable.
It is interesting. Todd, let's stay with you. Who do you feel like is hot out there right now?
I mean, listen, I always think Apple is hot. I think, the way that they've shifted towards privacy a few years ago, and they're just hammering on privacy. It's really working for them. And that's a big shift for them from a brand strategy standpoint, going from UX usability. Not that they don't still own that as a branding positioning, but they've gone to privacy and it's working. I think on the newer side of brands, I love how Oatly is picking a fight with the milk industry. I go back and forth between New York City and upstate New York. And in upstate New York, you've got these old supermarkets that have been around, classic old, and you never saw alternative milks there ever, right? And then they started to slowly get in, and they're there. But Oatly has actually moved right next to regular milk. Like it's not even in the alternative milk section at a standard supermarket up in upstate New York. It's working for them. Whatever they're doing, like they created a great brand with a great personality, and the positioning works.
Apple's got new products coming out within the next couple of weeks, new iPhone, everything else. It'll be interesting to see if they finally start to dip their toe back into talking at least about what they're working on with AI, because it feels, at least from my perspective, like it's a big miss right now because they're not talking about it and everybody else is. Normally, it seems like when they jump in, then they jump in all the way. Brian, how about from your perspective, who's hot right now?
Yeah, hot. I would probably give it to. I always look at things through the out-of-home lens. Figma, in my opinion, they're in the midst of a pretty impressive out-of-home campaign. Um, you know, another a great out-of-home specialist. PJX is working on them, so doing great work over there. Seeing them all over the place. And then also, I really love what King's Hawaiian is doing right now. They're actually running an activation in O'Hare Airport in Chicago this week, where if you buy the pop-up and you trade in the actual clothes you're wearing, you'll get a set of sweats and comfort clothing and eye masks, all branded. You have to trade your clothes on the spot. But it's a very fun, buzzworthy activation, a great way for a brand to really pop out other than just doing traditional airport advertising. And in the crowded world of CPG, always good to see a brand kind of try something new and do something in that surprise and delight channel.
I always feel like that.
Is it called Show Your Buns?
Show your buns.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it, Chris. Listen, again, I love anything that really feels like some thought went into creating an activation where you just interact with a brand. That's really ultimately what any of this is a chance to your point, Brian, surprise and delight. Chris, how about from your perspective, who's hot right now?
Well, I'm in the B2B space. That's what my agency does. So I'm paying particular attention to retail media networks. I know that they are targeting consumer audiences, but from a B2B side, we work with Best Buy Ads, and we're talking to a couple of other retail media networks about helping them market in the next year. So we're seeing a lot of spend and a lot of activity and a lot of interest on the media side of the world, but also trying these consumer companies, finance companies, hospitality companies are all trying to commercialize their data and compete against Amazon and Walmart, which has something like almost 83% of the market when it comes to that spend. So I think we're going to see a lot of spending. I think we're going to see some players pull back in the next year because they just can't compete and can't differentiate their data. And it's going to be a really interesting space. The key players will come to the top and a lot of people are going to fall out in the next 2 years.
The addition of Claire Wyatt over at the trade desk to me will be one certainly to keep an eye on to see if some of that consolidation takes place, allowing for more singular dashboards, which seem to be some of the biggest frustration of buyers is there's so many of these retail media networks and they just don't have the time or the ability to have to, go on every single one to put all their pieces together. This next question is called, Hey, That's Me. Chris, let's stay with you. Talk a little about who you are and what you do and why you do it.
Oh, thanks a lot. So my agency, Schermer, in Minneapolis, has been around for 28 years now, all B2B. As I mentioned, we work with Best Buy Ads. We have a practice area that we call For Business. So we actually work with a number of consumer companies to help them launch and lead their B2B marketing programs. So Best Buy Ads, Red Wing Shoe Company, lead Red Wing for Business, Logitech for Education, and help stand up those businesses alongside other traditional B2B companies and clients like SAP, Pearson, and a few others.
Sounds great. Todd, how about from your standpoint, tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
I'm the Chief Strategy Officer and founder of Fazer. That's with an F, F-A-Z-E-R. We're a brand strategy firm. So I've been in this sector for 3 decades, running brand strategy agencies for 23 years now. We're not focused on any sectors. We're focused on a specific methodology. So we have a methodology called depositioning. Most agencies are focused on differentiation. We don't do differentiation. If anything, we pick a big fight with differentiation. We don't think it's very effective. And what depositioning essentially is, it's pain point solutioning. So when you focus on a customer's what we call a hero pain point, and you figure out how you solve it, and then you position the brand around that. So perfect example is everything Steve Jobs ever did, right? And now Tim Cook with privacy. Privacy solves what we call a hero pain point in the sector, which is transparency of data. People are afraid their data is going to get stolen, so they lean into privacy to solve that and become what we call ultra relevant. So
sounds a little bit like some solve, don't sell kind of mixed into there as well. Find the point. All right. Brian, You've been a frequent guest of mine on various podcasts, but please remind everybody who you are and what you do.
Thanks for having me again, Brian Rappaport, founder and CEO of Quan Media Group. We are the modern approach to out-of-home for modern brands who want to build a real-world identity. ex Publicis at Zenith for 7 years, ex Rapport at IPG for 4.5. We work with over 100 different brands, lots of fun ones: Frida, Skims, HubSpot, Notion, Olipop, Lesser Evil, and a bunch more. Yeah, team of 8, out-of-home nerds, love what we do, every market, every country.
Brian, let's stay with you. Let's talk about AI for just a second. This segment is called Bot or Not. So, there's not a podcast that doesn't go by where it's not getting talked about to some extent. We were talking about Apple a little bit earlier and kind of, are they missing, the boat, so to speak, with the bots? Where do you see it starting to play into the out-of-home space?
Yeah, I think it's definitely influential and helpful as it relates to building campaigns. I wouldn't say selecting inventory per se, but more so giving substantial breadth to the recommendations we're making for our clients. Why, it makes sense for brand X to show up at Art Basel or to show up at F1 Austin. Their core audience is here, and how much of the core audience of said event is composed of their target ICP. So I really feel like the whole research and the building the strategy piece to a campaign is where AI is playing a really strong role as it relates to the out-of-home world.
Chris, how about from your perspective, again, sitting in this business to business space, where does this come into play, either in your conversation with brands directly on what they need to be talking about to differentiate themselves, or in how you're making some recommendations?
In regards to AI, I just really think that generative AI searching is becoming the norm very, very quickly. And I think that traditional SEO is just not, there's some principles that are going to carry forward, but we really have to think differently on behalf of our brands, how we're creating content, information, how we're writing it, how ChatGPT and other tools are helping us create that content to be relevant for itself. I think there's just going to be a continued movement towards that. There's two things that AI, in my mind, I'll just simplify it. To me, it's articulation and amplification from a brand standpoint. I don't think AI is there in terms of articulation. I still think the human element and that pain point, understanding it. But AI can get you to the pain point really fast. It can help represent the buyer really quickly and effectively. But there's still a certain amount of translation where the human element comes in. And then amplification is where AI is really making it easy for marketing firms and brands and agencies to utilize AI effectively.
Todd, you talked about, again, brands needing to kind of get to that pain point or that point of differentiation. It feels like it happened fast. To me, I'm an old radio guy, so I remember, us thinking, God, those poor people selling newspaper. And then radio started to go the way that it did. And I remember all the TV people going, thank God I'm selling TV. Yeah. But to me, SEO, even 12, maybe 15 months ago, was still right there. And, spending plenty of money there. And now, I'm an old white guy. So, I'm at the typically I'm at the kind of other end of some of that bell curve. So how do you incorporate AI into the conversations that you're having right now, Todd, whether that's think about it or pain point? Where does it come into the conversation?
We're a strategy firm, so for us, it's been incredible for research, right? We have accelerated our ability to do research on sectors, customers. So we look at two things. We look at customer pain points and we look at competitor weaknesses. So it's kind of like parts of a SWOT analysis, but those are the main focuses. A year and a half ago, we're still doing focus groups, right? Today, we look at the first part of our process. It's usually like 6 weeks of deep research. Now we're cutting it down less than half. Sometimes we can do research that used to take 2 or 3 weeks into 2 days. So it's, we're 10xing our research. The one thing I will say is that we're very focused on quality. We have to be, right? Like it's still a tool, right? It helps you think. It's highly programmable. It's so exciting what's happening, especially, back to your hot or not, like I was saying earlier, we were in San Francisco yesterday and my colleague and I were just seeing so many AI ads out on the street. We counted like 30 AI companies we never heard of that are spending money on outdoor bills. Either on the highway or in the airport. But yeah, I think what we're going through right now is super profound. You say, old white guy. Okay, so you remember late 90s, early 2000s, the start of the internet, when all this money was just like pumping into internet companies. Same thing right now with AI. I couldn't believe it coming back from San Francisco yesterday. It was crazy.
And then that bubble burst. Remember that though, too.
That's right. It's going to burst again, of course, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
It does sound like, Brian, you need to head out to San Francisco, spend a little time out there.
I am in the midst of a major out of home campaign there for one of our brands. So I don't know. I got to be honest, no joke. Probably in the last month alone, I've gotten a request for at least 15 different campaigns from different brands in San Francisco. It is a hot market for out of home again after taking a little bit of a break. And I will say the majority of asks are coming from B2B and AI brands.
Well, the media is trying to turn San Francisco into this dangerous place.
Yeah.
It's not that dangerous. It's on fire, man. We were at this tech startup incubators, like a WeWork type space. It's busting loose. It's just the energy is crazy, positive, really, really positive. Yeah.
Sounds like money to be.
Great city. SF is a great city.
Sounds like money to be made, and Brian, let's
exactly.
Let's ask you this next question. It's called Independence Day. What do you think is one advantage for independent agencies that they have over the holding companies, from your perspective?
I wish we had an hour. I think just the ability to turn things around within 24 hours to 48 hours. I mean, obviously you don't want to promote that too much because you gotta work, but the flexibility, the speed, the nimbleness, the persona, the who you're speaking to is who you're getting working on your business. I think that's the biggest thing. It's not, your A-listers show up to try and win your business and then, whatever. I'll leave it there. I don't want to insult anyone, but I think what I had said, before that, I just think the speed and flexibility and the true passion from the team that is working on said business. So, yeah.
Todd, you're an independent. Talk to us a little bit about where you feel like your advantages are when it comes to that.
Oh, God. Speed, intelligence. I think what's happening right now is they're just chopping, the big holding companies. They're chopping off the heads of executives who are really, really talented and smart, and independents like us, we're hiring them. The culture there, these big shops are, holding company shops, is horrible. Everybody's talking about it on LinkedIn. It's not like it's a secret. And independents, they have the freedom to create positive culture, and they're going to attract the best talent. So, we're a brand strategy firm. It's all about the smartest people. The big holding company agencies are losing the smartest people because they're having to chop their heads off to save money. And the independents like us, we're getting them. We're taking them over to our side. It's kind of great, actually.
Chris, do you ever run into that sitting in the space that you're in? Do you ever find again that you're encroaching on, somebody that's been talking maybe to some of the larger holding groups about something that they're working on? Or again, what's your perspective as far as what, really helps independents stand out?
Yeah, as a small agency, you'd be surprised at how many large enterprise companies we're working with. We have to compete against large holding companies with, being an approved SAP vendor that took us over a year to get through that process as an independent. That's tough, but we did it because we're good enough and we prove value. I think that Todd is really onto something talking about strategy. I think independents really understand and can deliver strategy in different ways. But I think, to me, the big difference between independent and holding companies really boils down to one word, and that's priorities. And we prioritize different things at different times than holding companies do. The priority at holding companies is doing showable work, which is about them, not just their brand, and it's about delivering profit and stock price. For us, the priority is our clients and our people. Those are the two priorities because we realize that as an independent business owner, we can't have a business without those two things. And the only shareholder are those two people, or those two groups. So priorities, it changes the way we operate, changes the way we deliver, changes our culture, changes how we evolve with our clients and prioritize where they're going next, where the market's going. And I think that nimbleness is a big part of it as well.
I remember in my younger days when I was a little shocked to see some of the holding groups, and I found out that some of the campaigns that they built are really just built for awards season. And I was a little shocked by that. So let's talk about awards for just a second. It feels like it's a little bit harder sometimes for independents to really compete in that space. It's not everything, right? To your point, it's not necessarily the most important thing that a client looks at, but if you could make up any award, what's an award that you think either you or your team would either have a good shot at winning Or what's an award you just feel like wish was out there for independents outside of what you typically see from, again, maybe something like the ad agency, small agency awards? Todd, let's ask you first.
We've got the Transform Awards coming up. That's like our big award show for the branding industry. Craig Bagno from McCann World Group just came over to Fazer, and he's a can guy. So we talk about awards all the time. Listen, we love awards and we hate awards. We love awards because who doesn't love awards? Who doesn't love to get an award? And we hate awards because we know that like I think the number that Craig told me was something like 25,000 submissions at Cannes, and only like however many get awarded, and it's just how does a company? It just feels so bought. Right. I mean, the one thing we love about Transform Awards for branding, we know it's not, but all these others, like it's like this little community of like the holding companies, like owning it. It just feels there's something there. Is there truly an independent way to approach giving awards? I don't know. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that our industry, no matter how much it's baked in data, it's subjective. Right. So the people who are handing out awards, it's subjective. So how do you get beyond that? Right. Will it ever not be just gloss and a marketing tool for us to prop ourselves up and go sell?
Chris, how about from your perspective?
Awards are important to us, but only a few key, and that is we always enter the Association of National Advertisers B2 Awards, which is their B2B awards. We've been a finalist 7 out of the last 10 years for small B2B agency of the year. And this year we won.
Hey, congratulations.
So, thanks a lot. And so I'll tell you what, that just legitimizes the agency. But the reason we love the B2 awards is because it's all based on results and impact. The creative is part of it, but it's not just a creative. It is literally about show us how you impacted business on behalf of your clients. And so to me, that's a really meaningful award to win, and more so than if we were just to enter creative awards.
Brian, how about from your perspective? Again, I know you guys aren't necessarily positioned as an agency to some extent. You're there consulting, you're helping, work with brands directly. But do you see campaigns sometimes where you think, oh, this one should win something because it's so interesting?
Yeah, I mean, look, for out of home, we have the Obies, which is essentially like the Oscars of out of home, which I think is great in this Media Plan of the Year awards. I do think that there should be a little bit more focus on out of home as a channel. I feel like, whether it's Cannes, whether it's other big events in the industry, a lot of brands are submitting work and a lot of it is out of home focused, but like the out of home side of things doesn't get enough respect per se. But yeah, I think for us, we're a small shop. We're only 6 years in and there's only 8 of us. And I think, obviously there's always a vanity part, but I do think that there's, it's exciting to say that we won 2 Gold Obie Awards, which are, we won it in our 2nd year, which is kind of awesome. Having said that, I don't know, I'm becoming a little more selective. Everything costs money, and then, some things are rigged and fixed, and, it's pay to play, and I don't want to sound bitter, but still enter a few things. Having said that, I'm a little selective now about what I do enter.
Fair enough.
We've been talking about rigged a lot today, right? Rigged
words,
Cracker Barrel, rigged. This is like the rigged show.
The rigged show.
We're not renaming it. I promise you that. We've got time for 2 final questions here, and you kind of brought up a little bit of a point, Todd. This one's called Head Scratcher, kind of based on almost what Brian just said. What's one pain point for you right now in this marketing space? We'll start with you, Todd. What's a pain point for you?
Well, I think that what's happening right now, just the skepticism around marketing in general is tough. I think, we've been talking about this for years, the churn around chief marketing officers or with chief marketing officers not lasting more than 18 months of their job, the skepticism in boardrooms around marketing in general. Mercedes just hired, what was it, a chief financial marketing officer. Did you hear that one? So they're going to attach a CFO to a CMO. It's the ultimate oxymoron, right? I mean, I think the skepticism going on right now is getting worse and worse and worse. And it's a harder fight. Like, people buy brand and people buy into brand, and our industry needs to prove to companies that the work that we do actually works. Yeah. Ogilvy was trying to do it. David Ogilvy was trying to do it back in the 60s, right? We're still trying to do it today. I think it's getting harder and harder and harder.
Chris, how about from your perspective? What's a pain point you're feeling right now?
2 things. One is, we were talking about independent agencies. One of the agency model is difficult to scale. That's one of the biggest pain points. It always has been. It always will be. Professional service is a tough thing to scale. And so I think the way that clients are trying to work with agencies is a little bit more on a, hey, let's get this done. Let's engage you. Let's do a project. And that is hard to scale. That's hard to take on when you're a busy agency doing great work for other clients. So I think that's really one of the pain points that's not going to go away. I think AI is going to help us respond to that in different ways than we ever have before. But all that's going to do is that's going to shrink time and create new expectations for how we engage.
It's definitely something that employees sometimes don't necessarily realize if they're not sitting at the top, that, every time you close a new client, it doesn't mean you're instantly staffed for that. There's always this little pain point of kind of pushing and pulling and getting it quite right. So you don't overhire with people who then are not working as much as they could or should. And you kind of navigate that pain point. For you, Mr. Rappaport, I know you got at least one.
Yeah, I got one. I probably have two, but I'll try and blend them. I think one is coming across certain brands that we've worked with. I don't mind. The thing that I think would keep anyone up is losing business. Unfortunately, we don't do that often. When we do it, it's usually to a holding company, which I could swallow. But that in itself is a pain point. It's brands that leave an independent for a holding company because they're so enamored by all of the things we had just mentioned about why independents are better than, holding companies. And it's frustrating, especially when you do good work and it's measured and it's performing. And then even still, they go off to, and you could be servicing them better. And then at the same time, I think, just being a smaller independent shop, at least in the out-of-home world, it's coming across brands that engage you don't engage them and want to work with you. And you start building plans for them and you find out they've engaged 3 or 4 other competitors at the same time and haven't disclosed it. So you're reaching out to media partners to build a really strong plan. And you find out that 3 or 4 of your competitors are doing the same thing. It just convolutes the marketplace. It's messy. It's really actually kind of not respectful when it's not disclosed because it takes up our time and we have other things we could be focusing on. And, I think part of the growth is learning how to say no and maybe just turning down opportunities in the future, which we, may have to do in cases like that. So
I think it's a great point. Can I ask you guys jump in here? We were talking about this today. I mean, the whole culture of pitching and procurement, right? I mean, it's hurt us, but it's hurting the clients more, right?
Much more.
They just need to pick an agency, like vet through and define your agency, trust your agency, and do good work together.
That's it.
The culture of pitching is like creates this this environment that it's just, and the work is hurting because of it, without a doubt.
If you're gonna,
I think going back to the pain point about the CMOs in the getting kicked out of the C-suite and like their churn, I think it goes directly back. This is one of the reasons. I think procurement and pitching.
Well,
I agree.
We are probably the only industry that is asked to do that, to prove ourselves over and over and over, even after, tenure. Yeah. Surgeons don't do it. Accountants don't do it. Lawyers don't do it.
That's right.
For some reason, everybody thinks that we should. And I think one of the reasons why is because a lot of it is based on subjectivity of creative. And if you can take out the subjectivity of, I like that, I don't like it, and base it upon what kind of results are you known for delivering? Can I see a body of work that is going to look like the problems that I have to solve? And can I trust the people and the culture? That should be enough for a decision.
I think there's also a lack sometimes of not using a request for opportunity or not sitting in a room and just having a general conversation. No pitch, no deck. I know great agencies that won't pitch if there's more than 4 or 5 pitching because they either don't have the time or they just don't want to do it. Not
totally
because they're like, we stand by our work. If you want to have a conversation with us, great. We'd love to jump on a call and have a conversation. But if not, what are we doing? I do feel like not pitch for MiO, but I do feel like it's one of the things that we're trying to solve for. Last question, just this, you guys, because I want to make sure we get out of here on time. It's called Key to My Heart. You can invite anyone, alive or not, to keynote a marketing event you're putting on. You're doing it. Who would you pick? And why? Todd, Irwin, let's go to you. Who are you picking for your keynote?
Who am I picking for my keynote? That's a tough one.
Job's 25 times, I feel like already.
What's that?
I feel like you talked about Steve so many times already with Apple, but I don't know.
I mean, I would pull Steve from the grave. Totally. He'd be. That's a great question. I mean, listen, I love the Galloway's podcast, but I actually like Kara a lot. Kara Swisher. I think she's really, really interesting. I love the fact that she's like she has no fear at all. I would totally pull her to do a keynote. Yeah, she should be great.
There is something to be said for honesty when you have no fear. Chris, how about you? Who'd you pick for your keynote?
Conan O'Brien.
Oh, I like it.
I love Conan. I think he's just I like it. It's the same answer if you said, "Who do you want to have dinner with?" It's Conan O'Brien. I love the guy. I think his sense of humor is great. I think he's a wonderful marketer himself, and doesn't actually a lot of comedians or celebrities or whatever have a marketing side, and they'll talk about it at conferences and so on. I don't think I've ever seen Conan take that angle, and I would love to.
Brian, you get the last word. Who would you pick and why for your keynote?
Oh man, this may seem like I'm kind of mailing it in, but I don't think so. I don't know. I'm enamored by Gary Vee. I really just, I like self-made people, and I like his story and his background. And my one gripe with him, even though I do really, really admire him, is that I don't feel like he loves out of home, and he's made it clear before. So it takes a lot for me to swallow. But he's a very dynamic speaker, and just what he's built and how he's kind of gone about his career and what he's created is super interesting to me. And most of all, he has that charisma, and he's super intelligent. So I'd go with Gary Vee.
I've never seen him speak where I didn't feel like, all right, well, that was at least kind of interesting. Well, listen, we are out.
Yeah.
On behalf of Todd Irwin, Brian Rappaport, Chris Schermer, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Rise of the Independent Podcast. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks for listening to Rise of the Independents, hosted by Sean Halter and presented by MiO Marketplace. MiO, the marketer's matchmaker. Find out more about them by visiting miomarketplace.com today.